My violin tone used to sound so bad, but in the course of 3 weeks, I was able to fix it and sound beautiful. And the funny part was, I didn't even mean to, but I think there are a few practices that got me these remarkable results, and I believe these can do the same to you. So, around a year ago, I was at my private lessons when we were working on a solo, and my teacher pointed out something. Even though I'd been playing for a pretty long time, my tone sounded very immature. My bow would tilt the wrong way. I'd go too close or too far away from the fingerboard and the bridge. And at times, my tone sounded gnarly. And despite us working on it, I didn't make that much progress that session. I left that room feeling quite disappointed. I had to fix my tone. For the next few weeks, I was trying to make conscious efforts to fix my tone, but nothing really seemed to work. I kept falling back to my old bad habits that kept me sounding worse. And over time, I just kind of forgot about it and I didn't make any progress with my tone. Then one day, I had a technique class which completely transformed my tone. What my instructor told me was so simple, yet extremely effective. By exaggerating a good habit, we can counteract a bad habit. By making this simple mind shift, I could improve my tone significantly. At the time, I thought this was completely ridiculous because we were having a philosophy lesson in violin class. But over time, I just subconsciously implemented the idea into my playing. And boy, I was proven wrong. I started getting full points on technique sessions, which I didn't even practice for. A lot of people kept asking me where I got my violin for because it sounded nice. But when it really hit me that my tone sounded so much better was when my private lesson teacher herself complimented me on how much my tone has improved in such a short time. So, how did I do it? The principle my technique instructor gave me was to exaggerate a good habit to counteract a bad one. So, unlike me, if you consciously apply this principle to the three tone killers that most people do, you will sound so much better. You can develop the mature tone that you always wanted. The number one mistake that I see most beginners do is have a crooked bow. This is how it looks. You need to stop doing this because it's ruining your sound. We need to exaggerate the good habit of this, which is something called crescent bows. Crescent bows are where you tilt the opposite way. And this is the exact same technique that cellist Yo-Yo Ma uses to get that loud forte sound throughout his bow. But you can use this technique to your own advantage by using it to fix your tone so that you don't have a crooked bow. This is what crescent bows look like. But let's be clear. You don't want a decent sounding tone. You want to sound elegant. And you cannot do that without vibrato. Firstly, if you don't know how to play vibrato, click and watch this video up here where I actually explain it. And then come back to this one. Vibrato will literally 10x your sound once you get really good at it. So go and learn vibrato. But a good chunk of violinists know how to do vibrato, yet for some reason, they don't apply it as much as they can. So again, we implement the principle, exaggerate the good action to counteract the bad one. So I want you to add a ton of vibrato to your playing. You can add reminders by writing in your music VIB, which abbreviates for vibrato. You should be vibrating nearly everything other than like some 16th notes or greater. Oh, and by the way, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. Thanks. Now, the third mistake that most beginners do is having a small dynamic range. What I mean by that is that their piano is pretty loud and their forte is very soft. The difference between the two is very minimal. But what the great violinists do is they have their pianissimo extremely quiet and their fortissimo extremely loud. They exaggerate their dynamics. So again, implementing the principle, we're going to exaggerate the dynamics to give more contrast between our fortes and pianos. This gives life to the music. You don't want your music to sound plain. You don't want it to sound like Iowa. We want to like Appalachian Mountains, high fortes and low pianos, and that will make you sound amazing. But if you want to get really good at violin, click on the top link in the description where we can have one-on-one lessons. If not, click on watch this video here where you can get some free education on how to play the violin.